So okay, welcome back to the today's session of pavement design. So in the today's class, let me start with the fourth module, that is stresses in the rigid pavement. So in the up to the third module, we have discussed the types of flexible pavement and the design factors that has been considered for the flexible pavement and the design of flexible pavement by the different methods, McKeld's method and the triaxial method. So and the failures and maintenance of the rigid pavements, flexible pavement. So in the fourth module, let us move for the stresses in the rigid pavement, and that is the first part in the fourth module, and the second part is the design of the rigid pavement by the different methods here. So under the first module, that is the fourth module, that is stresses in the rigid pavement, so we need to find out the types of stresses and the analysis of stresses, that is Westergaard's analysis are there, and the modified Westergaard's equation, critical stresses, wheel load stress, the different types of stresses has been developed in the rigid pavement, and based on that we are having some of the numericals, that is problems we need to solve based on the stress distribution and to find out the stress at the different points of the rigid pavement here. So the first we need to, in order to calculate the stresses, before going to calculate with the stresses in the rigid pavement, so first we need to find out what are all the factors that may be considered while designing of the rigid pavement. So that is factors affecting the design of the rigid pavement. So here the some of the factors that mainly affecting the design of the rigid pavement, that is wheel load and the temperature variation, types of joints, which type of joint we have used, and the type of subgrade and the supporting layers. So how these parameters affecting the design of rigid pavement, so that we need to discuss in detail in the today's session. So along with that, the traffic volume we need to consider, that is the most important factor that we need to consider for the designing of rigid pavement is the type of traffic load, that is heavy traffic load, and the variation of the temperature is one of the important factor that is affecting the design of CC pavement. So and because of variation in the climatic condition and the variation because of the moisture content, so in the different layers or the in the rigid pavement, so is there any volumetric changes will occur, so that is also we need to consider, that is type of traffic loads and the temperature variations and the volumetric change in the pavement design and the loss of subgrade support, so because of the location or any environmental factor, so that all the factors which is affecting the design of CC pavement here. So first thing is that is wheel load. So we have already aware about this wheel load. So means what, the performance of rigid pavement is one of the important factor which is affected by the wheel load. So which is the magnitude of wheel load, how much magnitude of wheel load is acting, and what may be the contact area. You can observe in the figure. So means how much load is acting in terms of kilonewton or in terms of tons. So how much load is which is coming on the pavement. So and what is the contact area, so that is where the load is exactly acting, and number of repetitive loads. So in case of rigid pavement or the pavement, the load is not any that is point load or it may be UDL. So the type of loads are moving load, that is from one point to another point the wheels are moving, that is repetitive wheel load is acting. So how much repetitive wheel load is acting, so that we need to consider while designing of the flexible pavement here. So and why we need to consider, why it is most important factor means, so this wheel load, whatever the wheel load is there, which is directly proportional to the stresses which is occurred in the pavement here. So we know that what do you mean by these stresses. So if any pavement is there or any object is there, so when the load is acting, the resistance offered for the deformation, so the resistance against the deformation, so what we are calling it as a stresses. So the same condition here, the wheel load is acting on a pavement, so the resistance which is offered because of this wheel load, so so that resistance we are calling it as a stresses induced in the pavement. So if the wheel load is more, so then there is a increase in the stress level in the rigid pavement or in the flexible pavement. So therefore we need to consider how much load is coming on the pavement and where the load is acting, that is location of the loads on the slab and the number of repetitive loads that is acting on the pavement. So these parameters we need to consider while designing of the rigid pavement here. So the next is we need to consider the next parameter that is affecting the rigid pavement. So that is the magnitude of wheel load. So how much wheel load which is coming, so that is magnitude, that is type of total load, and the contact area is how much, and the total contact area, contact pressure. So all the parameters which is included in the wheel load itself. So what is the magnitude of wheel load and what is the total contact area and the contact pressure, so that all the parameters is included in the wheel load itself. So then another important parameter is where the wheel load is acting. So means location of load application on the slab. So means if you are having the width of the road here, so if we are having the width of the road, it is there, means so where the load is exactly it is acting. So whether it is acting at the center, that is if it is a carriage way, so then whether the wheels are vehicles are moving at the center or at the edges or at the corners. So based on this there is a variation in the stress level. So therefore the location of the load application on the slab is very important parameter we need to find out in case of rigid pavement. So because the load stress on a slab are very depending upon the location on which is acting. So therefore we need to consider for the analysis of the designing of pavement, so that is where the load is acting, whether it is in the interior, the vehicles are moving at the interior of the road. So interior means it is the stresses at the interior is represented by I. So whether it is acting at the interior of the road, whether it is acting at the corners or it is acting at the edges. So while solving the problem we will come across where the load is acting, that is at the edge, that is stresses at the edge, stresses at the corner, stresses at the interior. We are having the different formulas. Based on that we need to decide so where the actually the load is acting. So why? Because if you are considering this that is the road surface has been considered, the variation of the stress is different at different places, is that nothing but different locations. So means whenever the vehicles or is nothing but wheel load which is applied at the corner region, so means if the vehicles are moving in this corner region, so then what happens, whatever the stresses has been induced, it is highest. So means so whenever the wheel load is applied at the corner region, so then we can expect the higher compression stress compared to that of the interior region. So if the same wheel load is acting at the interior, so then the compression stress is less compared to that of when it is acting on the corner region. So therefore the location at which the wheel load is acting, that is also very important factor which is affecting the formation of stresses in the rigid pavement. Similarly, if you are applying the load at the interior region, so the load at the interior region away from the edges is lowest compression. So if the wheels are moving, if the load vehicles are moving at the interior of the pavement, so then we can preferably we will get the lowest compression stress compared to that of when it is acting on the corners as well as the edges. So therefore where the load is acting, so that is important factor we need to consider in case of the rigid pavement design. So and along with that the another important factor is the repetition of the loads. So means which type of vehicles are moving and what is the number of load repetitions that has been carried by the road during its design life. So the design life is nothing but if you are designing for some 30 years of span or if it is 25 years, so during the entire lifespan of the road, So how much wheel load which is acting on the road surface. So that we need to interpret before the designing of the pavement itself. The repeated application of the loads may not causes the structural deformation. So if movement of the vehicles on a road surface, the repeated load do not causing any structural deformation, but it causes the variation in the stresses in the pavement here. So therefore it is very essential to determine the actual magnitude of the load. So which type of vehicles are moving, whether it is single axial vehicle or the tandem axial wheels are moving, and what is the magnitude of wheel load. So because if you know the magnitude of wheel load, so based on that we can estimate the flexural stresses developed during the entire design life of the pavement because of these heavy wheel load which is coming on the pavement. So therefore the number of repetition of the loads and the group of load during the entire design life, it is very important to determine in order to do the fatigue analysis of the stresses here. So because if the repetitive application of the load, that is magnitude of the load, is increases, then it is causes the fatigue failure in the CC pavement. So what do you mean by this fatigue failure? So fatigue is nothing but what? So there may be some weakness in the materials that has been used for the construction because of the continuous wheel loads which is acting on the pavement surface. So if any failure occurs because of the continuous application of the repetitive load, so if there is a weakness in the material, then the failure occurs. So that type of failure we are considering it as a fatigue failure. So therefore it is very important parameter to determine the repetitive load which is acting on the rigid pavement here. So and in order to design this, we need to consider some stress ratio. The stress ratio is nothing but what? So it is the ratio of flexural stress in the CC pavement to the flexural strength. So means the ratio of flexural stress to the flexural strength, we are calling it as a stress ratio. So why we need to consider this stress ratio means, so if any pavement which is having the stress ratio less than 0.44, so then there is no fatigue failure in this such case of pavement. So means while designing of the pavement, if the stress ratio is less than 0.44, so then there is no possibility of the fatigue failure. So therefore it is very important to estimate the stress ratio based on the number of repetitions. So how much load which is coming, so that based on that we are having the different stress ratio values which is varying from 0.45 to 0.9. So 0.45 to 0.9 we are having the stress ratio for different number of repetitive loads. And if it is less than 0.44, then we cannot expect the fatigue failure in case of the rigid pavements here. So and one more thing we need to consider in case of design here means the axial load distribution studies. So means how the load is distributing and what is the number of commercial vehicles which is moving on the pavement and which type of vehicles are moving. So all the data we need to collect here, that is axial load distribution studies are carried out to selected number of vehicles that is actually moving on the existing road. So on the existing road, so what is the initial traffic before designing? So what is the number of vehicles which is moving on the road surface and which type of wheels are for the vehicles and what is the wheel base and what is the spacing between these axials if the dual axial wheel is there. So all the data has been collected under the axial load distribution study. So why it is required? So this is required to decide what is the wheel load which is coming on the road surface. Clear? So then along with that we need to find out what is the stress level on the road surface in the entire design life of the pavement here. So it means we can analyze at the beginning itself. So is there any loads which is coming on the pavement such that it will create the maximum stress ratio of greater than 0.445. that is, if it is exceed this, so then we can expect the there is the fatigue failure. So in order to withstand that fatigue failure, so what are all the design parameters we need to consider, so that we can analyze by these studies. So that it is necessary to design the pavement for the fatigue analysis. So that is the repetitive application of the load. So what may be the failure that may expect in the pavement, so that has been determined using this the axial load distribution studies. So the next thing is we need to follow some of the steps, or in order to determine what is the maximum wheel load which is coming on the pavement. So what are all the things we need to do, so that has been listed one by one here. So first we need to find out the maximum wheel load by considering the type of vehicle, and whether it is single wheel vehicle, tandem wheel vehicle, or multi-axial vehicles are moving. So which type of vehicles are moving on the road surface, so that we need to determine first here. So after that, axial load distribution table so it has been prepared. So means the load distribution table has been prepared after calculating the number of vehicles which is moving. So by this we can obtain the average group of the magnitude of load, that is expected load, and what is the number of repetition of the loads vehicles which are moving on the road surface during the design life. So that is estimated. First, number of type of vehicles we can calculate and group them based on the type of wheel load, and after that magnitude of wheel load is considered during the entire design life. So then the total number of axial wheel loads and the initial traffic during before starting of the project, that has been determined. So after considering all these data, so we need to consider the important data, that is growth rate of the vehicle. So means for an year what is the production of the vehicles, and what is the growth rate of the vehicle during the construction period and the design life. So that is estimated here. So that is different types of vehicles and growth rate of vehicles during the entire lifespan of the pavement. So that has been estimated. So based on all the data, that is the frequency distribution table has been prepared for the number of repetitive loads through the entire design period. So and after that we need to consider some of the load safety factor also. So means for the future traffic, so if there is any further increase in the wheel load, in order to consider that also, we need to have some of the safety factors. So that is 1.2 is a safety factor usually considered for the designing of CC pavement here. So these are all the steps in which we have calculated what is the maximum wheel load which is coming on the road surface. Why? Because if the wheel load we have estimated that, the corresponding the stresses which has been induced, so that we can easily find out in case of the design. So and one more important aspect in case of rigid pavement is the variation of the temperature here. So because what? So if there is a maximum changes in the road surface, that is warping stresses has been developed. So what it mean? Warping means, so there is a bend has been formed, or the twisting of the shape of the road surface. So that what we can calling it as a warping. So the stresses which is produced because of the bend or a twisting of the road surface, so that stress we are calling it as a warping stresses. So means we can see in the daily today life, so there may be a variation in the atmospheric temperature. So because of this variation in the atmospheric temperature, so if it is the thickness of the road, so then at the top as well as bottom, so there is a variation in the temperature level. So because of this variation in the temperature level, so the resulting stresses on the slab, what we are calling it as a warping stresses because of the temperature variation. That is warping of the slab. You can observe here. So this is the picture indicates the daytime of the pavement, and this is the night time of the pavement. So in the daytime we can see here, the compression stresses are induced at the top of the pavement and the tensile stresses are induced at the bottom of the pavement here. So, and it is reverse in case of night time. Tensile stresses are at the top and compression stresses are at the bottom. So, there is a twisting of the pavement here, or there is a the twisting out of the shape of the pavement. So, that this condition, what we are calling it as a warping. So, the stress corresponding to this, we are considering it as a warping stresses. So, if there is a variation in the temperature because of atmospheric, so there is a the difference in the temperature level at the top as well as the bottom layer of the pavement, so resulting in the warping stresses. You can observe in the figure here the temperature during daytime as well as the night time here. So at the daytime you can observe so how the variation of the pavement surface here. So the compression is at the top of the pavement layer and tensile is occurring at the bottom of the slab in the daytime, and it is reversed. So this is actually the subgrade level, but there is a increase, there is a variation in the shape of the pavement here. And during the night time, so the cooler section is at the top and warm at the bottom. Daytime warm at the top, cool at the bottom. So therefore tension is occurring at the top and the compression is occurring at the bottom. So this figure is clearly indicating that the temperature variation during the day and night time of the pavement here. So because of this variation of the temperature at the top as well as the bottom layer, so we can expect the stresses has been induced in the pavement surface. So you can observe here the variation of the difference in the temperature has been calculated here, T1 minus T2, where T1 is the maximum temperature at the top during the daytime and T2 is the minimum temperature at the bottom during the night time of the pavement here. So this is what the most important point, that is the variation of the temperature. The same thing has been explained with a different figure, daytime as well as the night time, what is the variation of T1 and T2. So daytime we are having the maximum temperature at the top and night time we are having the maximum temperature at the bottom, and the upper surface has been cooled during the night time here. So you can easily observe what you mean by warping and no warping condition. So what it means no warping condition means, you can observe in the figure clearly. So the no warping is nothing but what, at some short duration, at too short duration in the entire 24 hours, the temperature at top and bottom slab are equal. So then that stage we can consider it as a no warping condition. So means the stage of the cement concrete pavement where there is no warping condition, so that stage is, we are considering it as a no warping condition. What it means? So in the entire 24 hours in a too short duration, so there is no any variations, that is subgrade is at the horizontal level. You can observe the first figure indicates the no warping condition. The pavement is having the same shape, so which is there is no any hogging or a sagging of the pavement here. And here you can observe warping down condition is nothing but temperature is high, that is daytime here, that is temperature, higher temperature at the midday. So there is a variation of the subgrade as well as the pavement layer here, and lower temperature at the midnight. So here there is a warping, we can observe, there is a twisting of the pavement surface because of the variation in the temperature. So warping up condition, warping down condition. Warping down we can expect in the daytime, warping up we can expect in the night time of the pavement here. So then, so this is when there is a no warping condition, when there is no temperature variation in the top as well as the bottom level, or the temperature in the top and bottom level are same. So that condition we are considering it as a no warping condition. So these are all the parameters that we need to consider while designing of the rigid pavement. So that is factors which is affecting the design of rigid pavement. So after that we can move for the what all the types of stresses has been induced in case of rigid pavement, and based on these stresses we are having the different problems. So let me see the types of stresses and causes of the particular stresses and the numericals on the different stresses. So that can be discussed in the next session. Thank you.